World War I, also known as the Great War, was a cataclysmic event that reshaped the course of the 20th century, leaving an indelible mark on global politics, society, and culture. Its origins, progression, and aftermath encompass a complex web of alliances, ambitions, technological advancements, and human suffering that fundamentally altered the world. To understand World War I is to delve into the intricacies of early 20th century geopolitics, the fervor of nationalism, the evolution of warfare, and the profound psychological and societal impacts that rippled far beyond the battlefields. The roots of World War I stretch deep into the 19th century, a period marked by the rise of powerful nation-states, imperial rivalries, and a delicate balance of power in Europe. The Congress of Vienna in 1815 had attempted to create a lasting peace after the Napoleonic Wars by establishing a system in which no single state could dominate the continent. However, the latter half of the 19th century saw the unification of Germany and Italy, the decline of the Ottoman Empire, and the emergence of new powers such as Japan and the United States. These developments disrupted the status quo, leading to a series of alliances and counter-alliances designed to protect national interests. By the early 1900s, Europe was divided into two main alliance systems: the Triple Entente, composed of France, Russia, and Britain, and the Triple Alliance, made up of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy. These alliances were meant to deter conflict, but instead created a tinderbox, where a spark could ignite a general war. Nationalism further fueled tensions, as various ethnic groups within the multinational empires of Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire sought self-determination, while major powers like Germany and Britain competed for colonial dominance and naval supremacy. The immediate cause of the war was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne, in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, by Gavrilo Princip, a Bosnian Serb nationalist. This single act set off a chain reaction. Austria-Hungary, with the backing of Germany, issued an ultimatum to Serbia, which, after partial rejection, led to Austria-Hungary declaring war on Serbia. Russia mobilized in defense of Serbia, prompting Germany to declare war on Russia. France, allied with Russia, was drawn in, and when German forces violated Belgian neutrality to attack France, Britain entered the war. What might have been a localized conflict thus escalated into a global conflagration. The opening months of the war were characterized by rapid movement and high hopes for a quick victory. Germany implemented the Schlieffen Plan, aiming to defeat France swiftly before turning east to face Russia. However, the plan faltered at the First Battle of the Marne, where French and British forces halted the German advance. Both sides dug in, and the Western Front became a vast network of trenches stretching from the North Sea to Switzerland. Here, the war ground to a bloody stalemate, with neither side able to achieve a decisive breakthrough despite repeated offensives. Trench warfare defined the experience of World War I for millions of soldiers. Life in the trenches was harsh and often deadly, with constant threats from artillery bombardments, snipers, poison gas, and disease. The mud-filled ditches bred rats and lice, while the psychological toll of waiting for the next attack was immense. Battles such as Verdun and the Somme became synonymous with mass slaughter. At the Somme alone, over 1 million men were killed or wounded in a matter of months. New technologies, machine guns, tanks, airplanes, and chemical weapons transformed the nature of combat, making it more lethal than ever before, but offering little advantage to either side. While the Western Front remained largely static, the Eastern Front saw greater movement. Here, Russian forces initially advanced into East Prussia and Austria-Hungary, but suffered devastating defeats at Tannenberg and Masurian Lakes. The vastness of the Eastern Front allowed for sweeping maneuvers, but logistical challenges and internal unrest plagued the Russian war effort. In the Balkans, the Middle East, and Africa, the war played out in a series of campaigns that drew in colonial troops and disrupted local societies. The Ottoman Empire, joining the Central Powers, became the site of fierce fighting, most notably at Gallipoli, where Allied forces attempted and failed to seize control of the Dardanelles. As the war dragged on, the toll on civilian populations mounted. Total war blurred the lines between the front and the home front, as entire economies were mobilized for the war effort. Governments introduced rationing, censorship, and conscription, while women entered the workforce in unprecedented numbers to replace men who had gone to fight. The British blockade of Germany and German submarine warfare against Allied shipping led to shortages and suffering among civilians. The use of propaganda became widespread, shaping public opinion and maintaining morale, but also fueling hatred and suspicion. In 1917, two events dramatically altered the course of the war. The first was the Russian Revolution, which led to the abdication of Tsar Nicholas II and, eventually, the Bolsheviks' seizure of power under Vladimir Lenin. Facing internal collapse, the new Soviet government signed the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk with Germany, exiting the war but ceding vast territories. This allowed Germany to concentrate its forces on the Western Front. The second transformative event was the entry of the United States into the war. Provoked by unrestricted submarine warfare and the revelation of the Zimmermann telegram, in which Germany encouraged Mexico to join the war against the U.S., President Woodrow Wilson led America into the conflict in April 1917, providing fresh troops and resources that would tip the balance in favor of the Allies. The final year of the war was marked by intense fighting and dramatic shifts. In the spring of 1918, Germany launched a series of massive offensives on the Western Front, hoping to win before American forces could arrive in strength. Initially successful, these attacks ultimately stalled due to exhaustion, logistical problems, and determined Allied resistance. The Allied counteroffensives, bolstered by American troops, gradually pushed the Germans back. Meanwhile, the Central Powers began to unravel from within. Austria-Hungary and the Ottoman Empire faced nationalist uprisings and military defeats, while Germany experienced strikes, mutinies, and growing opposition to the war. On November 11, 1918, an armistice was signed, bringing the fighting to an end. The cost of the war was staggering: an estimated 10 million soldiers dead, 20 million wounded, and countless civilians killed or displaced. Entire landscapes had been scarred by shellfire, and cities lay in ruins. The psychological impact was equally profound, as survivors grappled with trauma and disillusionment. The old order of Europe had been shattered, with the collapse of the German, Austro-Hungarian, Russian, and Ottoman empires, and the map of Europe was redrawn. The peace settlement that followed, centered on the Treaty of Versailles, sought to address the causes of the war and prevent its recurrence, but instead sowed the seeds for future conflict. Germany was forced to accept responsibility for the war, pay heavy reparations, and cede territory. New states were created in Eastern Europe, often without regard for ethnic realities, leading to instability. The League of Nations, conceived as a means of collective security, lacked the power and unity to enforce its decisions. Many Germans viewed the treaty as a humiliation, fueling resentment that would later be exploited by Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. World War I also brought about significant social and cultural changes. The role of women in society shifted as they took on jobs previously reserved for men, contributing to the advancement of women's rights in the post-war era. The horrors of the trenches and the sense of futility experienced by many soldiers found expression in literature, art, and philosophy, giving rise to movements such as modernism and the lost generation. The war also accelerated technological innovation, from aviation and radio to medicine and logistics, laying the groundwork for the modern world. The legacy of World War I is both immediate and enduring. It was a war that ended empires, redrew borders, and set the stage for the ideological struggles of the 20th century. The unresolved issues and resentments left in its wake contributed directly to the outbreak of World War II just 2 decades later. Yet the war also prompted efforts to build a more peaceful international order, as seen in the creation of the League of Nations and later the United Nations. Understanding World War I requires an appreciation of its complexity, a conflict born of long-standing rivalries and sudden crises, fought with unprecedented ferocity, and concluded with ambiguous peace. Its story is one of tragedy and transformation, of lost illusions and new beginnings, and its lessons continue to resonate in a world still grappling with the consequences of war and the pursuit of peace.